They see us as light. And who's they? Well, the way I'd like to approach this topic in this video is many variations of intelligences, whether from realms of light, sound, vibration, or even ascended intelligences that still somewhat have capabilities of being in the 3D realm. Everything that I'm saying, it is not black and white. So I'd like that to be some food for thought for you as well, because most people like to approach this with a black and white answer, and it just doesn't work that way. But as an example with this, from my own experience and my own communication, it's been revealed to me, and you would see this as a common theme, whether for yourself who's watching this or researching this topic, meaning the paranormal, alien abduction, spirit communication. There is a common theme with this of people being awoken at 3 a.m, give or take. Now, the way it's been explained to me from my own contacts in multiple contacts is that they see us as light, our spirit team, the angelic intelligences, some extraterrestrials, ultra-terrestrials. We're dealing with a whole wide range of intelligences here. And depending on where you are on the planet and at night time, what's happening is things are more dormant. There's less light distortion going on. To them, in some of these cases, they're seeing just light everywhere. And because it's moving around, it's doing different things, which is us. It's very chaotic. And it's not a position for them to get harmonic with our frequency, to resonate with it's an interface. And so this is why, which can be frustrating, getting awoken at 3 a.m, and I'm sure a lot of you have thought this just like myself, why couldn't you just come more often during the day than at night? Being somebody that is empathic, that is psionic and interfacing with many intelligences, I'm lucky that I've got the opportunity during the day in a lot of cases, but it can be somewhat daunting at night, waking up to a spirit, an extraterrestrial, angelic intelligences and what have you. And in some cases I have said, why couldn't you just come during the day? I need my sleep. And then over the years, it's very common now for me to get up at 3 and stay up. And then I might go back for a little bit of a nap later on, 15-minute nap, which usually dream contact occurs in that state. Now, why I'm relaying this and going into this is there's also negative aspects with this. That AI that was created by the fallen Elohim can affect people in their sleep, especially those that are waking up. And it's not to put out doom and gloom and this and that. It's to inform you. Because once you're aware, you've got ways that you can battle this. And you battle this through love, which I'll go into. And so some people may hear robotic voices, something equivalent at times to what might sound like a radio station being tuned on the old AM, FM stations. I'm not saying this is every case that it's AI or even demonic, because that's an aspect with this as well. But there are some things that are audible that can happen at night time in that sort of space, where they're even going to bed at that time and you're not even asleep yet, or waking up to it from a dream attack. Now, what dream attacks will involve is a number of things. It could be negative sexual experiences. It could be seeing people you haven't seen for years in a negative state. It could be even snakes or certain types of animals, beasts, things that we hear about in mythology coming after you. Giant spiders, which is very common with AI, and that's a whole other thing we could go down as well. It could be shadowy type figures, demonic type figures, things that look like the typical depiction of the devil, of clowns. There's a whole range of things that can occur. And what's a common theme is people having a very dark dream experience, and then when they awake, they've got paralysis going on. Now, there is sleep paralysis, but I'm talking about something different here. And what's happening is, in effect, the body's going through a highly charged electrical state to where, through that electricity, you're being momentarily frozen. And the fear that's associated with that is what some of these negative influences are trying to derive. And we'll come back if there isn't a number of things done, whether it's prayer or shielding techniques or going with the heart technique that I'll go into in a moment. And I have covered this before as well. Because that there is a repeating source of energy for these dark influences, also up to the point to when people experience this, they feel like a partial possession may be taking place. Because they can feel an energetic change and almost like something trying to take over and be absorbed into them. And so these things do happen, but extremely rare at that level. Now, what I can tell you is, from somebody that's been choked, scratched, seen things that people can only imagine from the darkness, as well as the most amazing, beautiful things that I've seen from the light as well, is that I have had the opportunity to see these experiences as boot camp and to trial and error dealing with negative influences in this case. Now, there is the position as well that I've got to say here as well, where people that are doing witchcraft, remote influencing, psionic attacks, whether they're employed by the dark hearts, which is not the government. We could say factions that are using government assets and governments without the governments even knowing, because there's no oversight in some of these things that I'm describing. These people that are faceless and nameless do use assets to harm those that are doing the work in the public eye. And it doesn't have to be just what I'm doing from this point of view. It could be somebody that's a religious figure, a political figure, somebody that's big in the entertainment industry, people that are making moves and changes in the world and bringing light on subjects or new things to the public domain, that there are forces out there that don't want these things out. And they are dark forces using human vessels to affect this physical reality. And they're also responsible for perpetuating the situation of the limiting of the disclosure, not just of extraterrestrial intelligences, but new energies and what have you, and also controlling the human race through structures. And if you talk to people in government, 9 times out of 10, they're aware of some stuff, but they'll come to people to find out this stuff and research because they don't know what's going on. They've got no access to this information. It's because of a setup put in play long ago that President Eisenhower spoke about, where this is a situation of corporations being outsourced stuff for the government and there's no oversight. And this is a very layered topic, but I'm just trying to give you sort of an introductory thought into what I'm relaying here. And so because of this, there is a situation that I've found very common over the years where when people are about to have a breakthrough, they are sleep deprived through these attacks and also have dream attacks. Now, there is also the flip side that I've spoken about before, that in some cases, the paralysis can be you coming back to your body from an out-of-body experience, can be you coming back and resonating with the body after being on a extraterrestrial vehicle, or being with trans-dimensional intelligences that have their own devices, as well as a number of other things. But also, it can also be your team freezing you, doing something, working with you, having communication with a bigger aspect of yourself that are in your presence in real time, and they do paralysis to freeze you so you don't freak out. And either way, there is a situation where, yes, one's taken aback when these situations occur. But my litmus test would be, does it feel dark, number one? And two, did you have a dark experience, a dark dream before waking to paralysis? And what I can tell you is airy-fairy and as simplistic as this sounds, and I've talked about this a lot in the past, is being aware that you're aware. You're aware now, you've woken up, you've got paralysis, you're aware of what's going on, observe the paralysis. And there's a space behind that where you're witnessing that you're observing the paralysis. In that state, which, again, it's easier said than done, unless you've got a lot of practice. If you can go and connect into the heart space and start breathing with the heart intentionally and go into a place of love and slowly through visualization or intention, push your heart space energy out until you're in that ball of light that I talk about, your orb of light, what will happen is a release occurs. And this is why I can go through many different techniques. Look, there's a lot on the YouTube and the website. If you go into the meditations, the first 6, I believe, have ads at the start and the end. The next 6 after that do have ads, and unfortunately YouTube won't pull them because of the distribution contract that I have on those. And I tried to make it so it's at the start and end like the first 6, but they unfortunately can't do anything about that. But if you go and look at those meditations or even listen to them on Spotify, there's the armor of light. There are various types of clearings and tips and tools for cutting cords, communicating multidimensionally, also going into my own version of the Merkaba meditation. There's also the visual guidance for the Merkaba meditation on the YouTube and also the rainbow body. But why I'm bringing this up is the more that you play with your own techniques and the things that I'm describing here of connecting with the heart space and pushing that energy out, it's becoming a tulpa. It's already there, but you're also manufacturing it through consciousness on a cohesive and coherent level. And the more that you can be in this space, the more that you can operate balanced with a clear mind and also from a space of love, compassion, not just for yourself, but others, taking things into consideration on all levels. And what happens is these frequencies can't resonate with that. Because when you awake and you're in a chaotic state, that's the distortion frequency, the fear. That's what they resonate with. That's harmonic for these influences. Now, to move on from that, there are also situations where you may even speak languages unknown, and your partner or friends might hear this. Some of it can be ancient languages. Some of it can be star language from a specific star language or species or star nations. Also, it could be light language. Now, the way I'll differentiate with this is that there's sort of a one language that covers everything, which is light language. And you could say that the star language are offshoots of that. And the way that this language works, whether star language or light language, works through being the observer and witnessing the thoughts, ideas, feelings, and visions that occur when you hear this. Now, of course, if you're asleep, that's a different matter. But it could be you in multidimensional mind tapping into a parallel lifetime, because all lives are happening at the same time, communing and conversing with another intelligence that you're speaking this with them. There could also be ways that this is coming through you and doing certain type of frequency changes on the light body and to you on a cellular level, as well as many, many other things that I'm not even thinking about here at the moment to relay, because I can't cover everything. But this is common as well. And there's also the situation of people having experiences in dream states with their spirit family, their soul team, even being in situations like classrooms. Now, people, including myself, have been on board vehicles, rooms that you know are otherworldly. And I spoke about this in a previous video about dreams and contact. And what can be happening is a number of things to assist you to bring through abilities and things that you know from other experiences and lifetimes of the scenario of ascension abilities. And this is why it's very common for myself and others, especially when children, to be going through situations like classrooms when you're on board and with other kids and other people and you're moving objects with the mind, going through levitation processes and mind reading processes. And people, more often than not, that are experiencers have got some recall of this, just like with being at Earth School, a real school, in our childhood, where there's something called the Gifted and Talented program, where there are IQ tests done, certain tests, and kids are pulled out of school, or all kids are, to an extent, I believe, are put through this to an extent to sort of find certain figures and people for a number of different reasons. And this does connect into some of these organisations that are black having access to technologies that can read, some call it soul technology, soul recognition technology, knowing who's who from the stars and what people's abilities are, and some of it being able to see the light that we are, the intensity of the light, and that can be a marker for those that are here to do spiritual work to uplift the human race, and there's those that don't want that done. This can go right off the wall here. But why I'm covering this is because dreams are a powerful situation, and that time of the morning, the 3 o'clock mark, give or take, to where also we can meditate and we can tap into higher states of consciousness. Inner visions come through because at that time, there's a process where through melatonin, which during the day we've got serotonin, it goes into melatonin, and basically through processes turns into DMT, and we've got that effect now with the pineal gland, which is another effect besides the piezoelectric effect that I was talking about with the calcite crystals in the last video, where now inner visions can happen. And what I can tell you, and I've told many people this, if you do get up early, what I'd say is don't fight it. Now, of course, we need our sleep. You need to operate, especially if you've got work and you're in the mainstream world, and we're here to be human after all. But there is a situation that I say to people, get up, have a coffee, have a tea, read a book, do some meditation, do a workout. But even if you go into a state of a nap or a meditation for 15 minutes when the sun's actually coming up, or a bit after, it's very common that you'll start to have dream experiences. And nearly every time you do it, it's a regular type thing for myself and many others that I've spoken to over the years about this that have taken note of this and then they've done it. And they too have experiences. And what I would say is to set the intention first and foremostly to connect with God, Source, Creator, and what's needed for you to be the best version of yourself, which includes service to others, being a loving being, growing and learning from the mistakes that we've gone through. Because the ascension is in our hands. Nobody's here to save us, but just like I say to people, where do you think an extraterrestrial was before that soul aspect incarnated into that body? We're not from anywhere except Source. And we are fractal intelligences that from the Godhead, which is a cell of God's body, in that spirit, some might call it the Holy Spirit, we go fractal out, and that's soul aspects that are fractally out there from the Godhead with a pinpoint of awareness in each life that's happening simultaneously. And it's outside space-time. And through intention, you can connect with that highest expression and pull in other aspects, other lifetimes, fruit from them to help you be the best version of you now. And sometimes there is blockages in certain things because we need to go through certain situations. I haven't got all the answers and I can't prove a lot of this except, I can show some things from my experiences and people have had experiences with me and around me. But we're all experiencing each other and each other's journey. And we're all one consciousness interfacing with itself. And what I'd like to impart with you is that love is the key. That when you transition, which is another situation with that time of night, people have dreams and communicate with their past loved ones, which are not anywhere in a state of non-existence. They are free. And depending on certain circumstances, and their frequency can depend on what they're experiencing. And in those states, when you're communicating with intelligences that have transitioned, they do also talk about seeing us as light, seeing dark influences and trickster energies as well. But when we're experiencing with them, there is a situation that they're dimming their light a little bit. And they do this to help you identify with them, because what you know is a fractal aspect of them. We look at things from, all right, is there life after death? And then you go to a situation of, all right, is there a reincarnation? And then you go to the next level after that, which is all lives are happening simultaneously. And because of that, when you're interacting with your loved ones that have transitioned, they're as real as they were with you alive. They're as big and beautiful and shining light in ways that you can't imagine until with them in that state. The space of life between lives, you could say. Because this is where it goes even fractal again. That each strand off from the highest expression can even create a new Godhead and go fractal again. And be experiencing many existences at the same time. And again, as I say, I try to make this relatable and digestible. But in our dreams, we can converse and communicate with those that we love, that have transitioned, and they hear our thoughts. And just like with God Source Creator, it too hears all our thoughts, all our prayers, and we all have a spark of that divine light inside each and every single one of us. And that's what I'd like to leave you with.